You know that feeling when you're watching a video online and right at the absolute most crucial moment,
Oh, no.
right, like the climax of the scene, and the video completely freezes.
But the audio just keeps going.
Yes, exactly. You are just sitting there staring at this spinning buffering wheel on the screen, totally stuck in place.
It is the worst.
It really is. And meanwhile, the live stream of the actual conversation is already like 5 minutes ahead, leaving you completely in the dust.
You are just miles behind.
Yeah, and you are desperately trying to catch up, hitting refresh, but the gap just keeps getting wider. Well, if you have ever tried to hold a real-time conversation in a language you are actively learning, you know exactly what that buffering wheel feels like in your own brain.
It is a profoundly isolating experience, honestly.
It really is, yeah.
Because the world around you is moving at full speed, people are laughing, ideas are bouncing back and forth, but your internal processor is completely jammed. You are basically trapped behind your own eyes.
Yeah. Oh, man, trapped behind your own eyes. That is such a good way to put it. I can vividly remember being at a dinner party a few years ago,
Okay.
and I was surrounded by native speakers of a language I was, really trying to learn at the time.
Right, a high-pressure situation.
Go high pressure.
Yeah.
And I was trying to tell what I thought was this hilarious, perfectly timed story.
Uh-oh. I see where this is going.
Yeah, you know it. I was translating so furiously in my head, just word by agonizing word. And by the time I finally delivered the punchline, the entire table had moved on to discussing the weather.
Oh, that is brutal.
I just sat there looking like a crazy person who was laughing at a joke from 5 minutes ago.
Right, because for them, the moment was long gone.
Exactly. And that mental traffic jam, that agonizing delay, is exactly what we are deconstructing in today's deep dive.
I am really looking forward to this one.
Me too. We are looking at a highly practical, incredibly insightful guide put together by language instructors Emma and Daniel.
Which is fantastic, by the way.
It really is. It is essentially a masterclass on a concept they call mastering the art of thinking directly in English.
Well, and we need to establish the stakes right away here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Set the stage for us.
So the mission today is not about memorizing a new stack of vocabulary flashcards or, finding a better grammar textbook.
Right. We are way past that.
Exactly. We are looking at the cognitive mechanics of fluency. Emma and Daniel's work is designed to dismantle something that millions of language learners suffer from every single day.
And they have a great name for it, right?
Yes, they accurately label it the translation trap.
The translation trap. I mean, it sounds ominous, but it is just so accurate.
It really perfectly describes what happens in the brain.
It does. And in their guide, Emma and Daniel set up a scenario that I think every single listener trying to learn a language has experienced.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, let me ask you, the listener, right now, when you speak English, does this happen? First, you hear the other person speak and you understand it.
Right. Comprehension isn't the issue.
Exactly. Then you think of what you want to say in reply, but you think it entirely in your native language.
Yep, step 2.
Then you try to mentally translate that native sentence into English.
And that is where the wheels fall off.
That's the buffering wheel. Then finally, you try to push those English words out of your mouth, and by the time you do, well, the moment has passed.
The conversation is completely over.
It is. Before we get into the mechanics of this, Emma and Daniel literally say right at the start of their guide, before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because every episode helps you speak English more naturally and confidently.
Right, the channel is called Boost English.
Yeah, Boost English. And we'll actually touch on why that daily reminder to subscribe is secretly brilliant later on. But for now, let's unpack this 3-step process.
Because that is the core of the problem. What Emma and Daniel are pointing out is that your brain is attempting to run a highly complex, labor-intensive subroutine.
Right, it's just too much work.
Exactly. You are following a rigid 3-step cognitive bottleneck. Think in the native language, translate to English, speak.
Think, translate, speak.
Right. And what's fascinating here is the evolution of language learning as described in the text.
Yeah.
We need to talk about why that specific bottleneck is so devastating to real-time communication.
Well, let's unpack that, because on the surface, translation feels like, I don't know, the safest thing to do.
It feels logical.
Yeah, it feels like you are making sure you have all the right ingredients before you start cooking.
That is a really great analogy.
But it sounds like you're saying the act of gathering those ingredients is what actually ruins the meal.
That is an excellent way to frame it. Let's actually look at it through the lens of a busy restaurant kitchen.
Okay, I'm with you.
Imagine a chef who is trying to prepare a complex dish during the dinner rush.
So, high stress, fast-paced.
Right. Translating in your head is like a chef who has to literally walk out of the kitchen, go across the street to the grocery store to buy a single onion, walk all the way back, chop it, and throw it in the pan.
Wait for every single ingredient.
Yes. And then, for the garlic, they have to leave the kitchen, walk across the street again, buy the garlic, and come back.
Oh my gosh, that sounds exhausting just to listen to.
Every single time they need a word, they are leaving the immediate environment.
The English conversation in this case.
Exactly. They're leaving the English conversation and returning to their native language warehouse to retrieve it.
The food would burn. I mean, the customers would leave. It would be a disaster.
It'd be a complete disaster. Thinking directly in English, which is the ultimate goal Emma and Daniel are advocating for here, is like finally stocking your own pantry right there in the kitchen.
Right, so everything is just there.
The ingredients are on the counter within arm's reach. It is fundamentally an issue of supply chain logistics within your brain.
Supply chain logistics, I like that.
When you translate, the cognitive load is just staggering. You are doing double, sometimes triple, the mental labor of the person you're actually talking to.
But, okay, I have to push back here a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
If this translation process is so incredibly inefficient, why do our brains default to it in the first place?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because Emma and Daniel do acknowledge that at the very beginning of learning English, translation actually helps.
Oh, it is absolutely vital at the start.
Right. You use it to learn basic vocabulary, to understand structural grammar, and to connect these bizarre new English sounds with concepts you already understand.
Exactly. You need an anchor.
Yeah, like if I don't know the English word for apple, I have to link it to my native word for apple first.
You do.
So if translation is the foundation, at what exact point does that foundation become a cage?
That is the critical pivot point in any language learner's journey. And it is a painful pivot.
I bet.
Translation is absolutely necessary scaffolding when you are at day one. Your brain craves safety, and it craves certainty.
Because learning a new language is terrifying.
Exactly. When faced with the ambiguity of a foreign language, your brain immediately retreats to the safety of what it already knows, which is your mother tongue.
Right. So where does it go wrong?
The problem arises when you try to take that scaffolding out of a controlled, slow-paced classroom environment.
And drag it into the real world.
And drag it into the chaotic reality of a live conversation.
Because real-world variables just don't wait for you to process information.
Precisely. In the real world, people speak at anywhere from, say, 120 to 150 words per minute.
That is fast.
Ideas mutate instantly. The social dynamics of a conversation shift rapidly based on tone, body language, context.
So if your brain is busy walking across the street to the grocery store to translate a noun,
You are missing the next 3 sentences the other person just said.
you're still buying the onion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You simply do not have the processing power to translate every sentence back and forth while simultaneously tracking the flow of a natural conversation.
Okay, so the scaffolding becomes a cage when the speed of the environment outpaces your ability to translate. And what happens next? The source text tells us the inevitable result of this heavy cognitive load is massive hesitation and stress.
And the stress is a huge factor here.
And I really want to dig into that stress factor for a second, because it isn't just a slight delay, is it? It is a vicious, compounding psychological cycle.
It feeds on itself.
Right. You know you are hesitating. You literally see the other person waiting for you to finish your sentence.
They get that polite, expectant look on their face.
Yes, the polite nod. And that makes you nervous. And then the nervousness triggers a fight or flight response, which restricts your cognitive bandwidth even further.
Which makes it even harder to translate.
Which makes the buffering wheel spin even faster. It is a complete system crash.
A complete system crash. And the tragic irony of this entire thing is that the learner usually blames their lack of vocabulary.
Oh, interesting. They think they just don't know enough words.
Exactly. They think, if I just knew more words, I wouldn't freeze.
But Emma and Daniel make it clear that isn't true.
No, the issue isn't the lack of vocabulary at all. The issue is the retrieval mechanism. The translation middleman is what is causing the crash.
Which brings us to their proposed alternative, which I have to say sounds almost impossibly simple, yet incredibly daunting at the same time.
It is a big leap.
Emma and Daniel say we have to cut out the middleman entirely.
Just completely remove it.
We have to train the brain to bypass the native language and connect ideas directly to English words. No translation, just automatic thinking.
I completely understand why learners find that daunting. I really do.
It sounds like magic.
It does.
Yeah.
The phrase thinking in a foreign language carries a lot of cultural baggage. It feels like a superpower.
It feels like something reserved for, diplomats or people who have lived completely immersed in a foreign country for a decade.
Right, like you have to reach a mystical state of enlightenment first.
Yes. But here is where it gets really interesting, because this is where their guide absolutely shattered my assumptions. And I think we need to spend some serious time redefining what thinking in English actually means.
I agree, because the misconception here is huge.
It is massive, because I think most of us, myself definitely included, assume that thinking in English means conjuring up these incredibly complex, highly sophisticated thoughts.
Right, like you need to be reciting Shakespeare internally.
Exactly. If someone tells me to think in English, I assume I need to be having a deep, philosophical internal monologue about macroeconomic theory or the meaning of life.
Or a detailed critique of a film you just watched, entirely in flawless English.
Yes, and that expectation is exactly why people fail, isn't it?
That expectation is setting yourself up for an immediate crash. Emma and Daniel explicitly debunk this idea in the guide.
They are very clear about it.
Very clear. They state that thinking in English does not mean using difficult words. In fact, if you are trying to use difficult words in your internal monologue right out of the gate, you are doing it wrong.
So where does it actually start?
It actually starts with the most basic, primal, almost universally understood thoughts imaginable. They give very specific examples in the text.
Like what?
Things like, I'm tired. I'm hungry. That looks interesting. I need coffee.
Okay, wait, hold on. I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If my ultimate goal is to, say, lead a complex, high-stakes marketing meeting in English, or to negotiate a contract.
Right, professional level fluency.
Yeah. How does walking around my house thinking, I am hungry or I need coffee, actually get me there? It feels like we're drastically lowering the bar. It feels almost childish.
I understand why it feels that way. I really do. But let's look at the actual neuroscience of what is happening when you do that.
Okay, lay it on me.
You are not lowering the bar. You are building foundational muscle memory. Let's look at how native fluent speakers actually operate.
Okay.
When a native English speaker feels hunger, they don't think of an abstract concept, pull out a mental dictionary, search for the appropriate term, and select the word hungry.
Right, that would be weird.
The physical, biological sensation in their stomach is directly hardwired to the English sound hungry. The feeling is the word.
There is literally no gap between the sensation and the language.
Exactly. There is no toll booth. The signal just goes straight through.
Okay, I see.
Now, when you, as a learner, feel hunger, your brain's established pathway goes straight to your native language. That road is already paved.
It's a super highway.
Yes. So, by consciously forcing yourself to think, I am hungry, in English, when you feel that physical sensation, you are forging a brand new neural pathway.
You are building a new road.
You are training your brain to bypass your native language entirely. You are teaching your nervous system that a real-life bodily sensation can trigger an English word instantly.
Ah, okay. I see. It is like learning to ride a bike.
Exactly like that.
When you first learn, you don't start by taking a mountain bike down a treacherous, rocky downhill trail. You would crash immediately.
You break your neck.
You don't even start on a busy city street. You start by just sitting on the seat, trying to balance in your own empty, flat driveway.
Right, with training wheels.
You start with the absolute basics so that the mechanics of balance become automatic. Saying, I am hungry, in your head when your stomach rumbles is just balancing in the driveway.
That is a perfect analogy.
If you can't balance there, you definitely can't navigate the complex terrain of a marketing meeting.
You are isolating the specific skill of direct retrieval. Emma and Daniel emphasize that these small, seemingly insignificant sentences are what actually train the brain.
They are the foundation.
They connect real-life ideas directly with English words. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, your brain stops relying on the translation crutch. It begins to trust this new pathway.
This makes me want to issue a challenge to you, the listener, because Daniel explicitly asks this in the guide, and I think it's a fascinating thought experiment.
It is a great exercise.
Think back to this morning. What was the very first thought you had when you woke up today?
Not the first thing you said out loud.
Right, not out loud to your partner or your dog, but the first private thought that crossed your mind. Was it a panicked, what time is it?
Or maybe a groggy, I am so tired.
Or It's cold in here. Take whatever that thought was and try saying it in your head right now in English. Just feel what it's like to hold that raw, simple concept in a different language.
It really is a profound shift in perspective when you realize that your internal monologue is entirely under your control.
It is. You can literally choose the language of your private thoughts.
That's just very empowering.
It's empowering, but it also brings us to a massive practical hurdle.
Yes, the execution phase.
Exactly. Having established that these incredibly simple driveway balancing thoughts are the skeleton key, we need to shift toward execution. Because it is one thing to understand the theory, but how do you actually do this?
How do you build the habit?
Right. How do you actively generate these English thoughts throughout a normal, everyday routine? Because most people listening to this deep dive don't live in London or New York.
No, they are surrounded by their native language all day long.
They don't have a conversation partner following them around the kitchen to practice with.
And that is precisely why Emma and Daniel's methodology is so effective. It does not require a special environment.
You don't need to move to an English-speaking country.
No, it doesn't require a tutor or a massive travel budget. The architecture of this daily practice is built entirely inside your own mind.
So how do we build it?
They outline a series of highly practical techniques to build this mental habit anywhere. At home, walking outside, sitting on the bus. Your current environment, whatever it is all you need.
Okay, let's really dig into these techniques because this is the actionable core of the guide. The first technique they suggest is describing your daily life. Self-narration.
Yes, self-narration. Emma and Daniel call this out as one of the easiest ways to start making the shift.
The idea is that as you go about your normal morning routine, you simply narrate your physical actions internally.
Right, so you think to yourself, I'm waking up.
I'm brushing my teeth.
I'm making breakfast.
You literally become the voiceover narrator of your own boring documentary.
From a psychological and cognitive standpoint, self-narration is an incredibly effective sandbox for language learning.
Why is that? What makes it a sandbox?
Because when you become your own conversation partner, you completely eliminate the emotional stakes that usually cause the system to crash.
Ah, right. The stress factor we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Think back to that stress cycle. When you are talking to a native speaker, there is immense pressure. Someone is actively waiting for you to finish your sentence.
There is a fear of judgment.
A fear of looking unintelligent.
You are afraid of wasting their time, honestly.
Yes. But when you are alone in your bathroom thinking, I'm brushing my teeth, there is zero pressure.
No one is grading you.
There is no one to judge you. You are practicing the vocabulary of your actual lived reality in a completely safe, zero-stakes environment.
You are building the retrieval muscle without the interference of social anxiety.
Exactly.
Okay, I buy the psychological safety aspect of it. I really do. But let me poke a hole in this for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
If I try this tomorrow morning, narrating my routine, I feel like I'm going to hit a wall very quickly.
How so?
Well, I can only think, I am making coffee or I am putting on my shoes so many times before my brain just completely tunes out.
It becomes repetitive.
Yeah, it's too passive. The novelty will wear off in about, 3 days, and I'll go right back to thinking about my day in my native language. How do you prevent this from just becoming a boring checklist?
Yeah, that is a very valid critique, and it is a common pitfall. If you only use declarative statements, it does become monotonous.
Right.
Which is exactly why the guide doesn't stop at narration. The natural evolution and the solution to that boredom is their next technique.
Which is?
Asking and answering your own questions. This completely changes the dynamic of the internal monologue.
Ah, okay. So instead of just stating facts, you create a dialogue.
Yes, Emma and Daniel suggest posing questions to yourself like, what am I doing today?
And then you force yourself to answer it.
Right. So you answer, I'm studying English today.
You ask, what should I eat for lunch?
And answer, I want a sandwich. Or I want coffee. You are having a full back-and-forth dialogue inside your own head.
Okay, I see how that forces engagement.
And this touches on a profound flaw in how we are traditionally taught languages.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. In a classroom, we usually rely on external prompts. A teacher asks you a question, and you respond.
Right.
A worksheet gives you a fill-in-the-blank, and you complete it. You are always playing defense. You are always reacting to someone else's input.
Oh, that's so true. I never thought about that.
But by asking and answering your own questions internally, you are taking control of both sides of the cognitive loop.
You were playing offense and defense.
Exactly. You're training your brain to initiate a thought in English which is the question, and then immediately generate a response to that thought in English.
It builds a self-sustaining momentum.
It does. It actually mimics the unpredictable flow of an actual conversation, but again, without the external pressure.
It reminds me of a tennis player practicing by hitting the ball against a large brick wall.
Yes, perfect visual.
You are controlling the serve, the question, and you also have to anticipate and handle the return, the answer. It keeps the brain actively engaged rather than just passively narrating. I really like that.
It creates a closed circuit of English processing that leaves absolutely no room for the native language to intervene.
Now, Emma and Daniel introduce another technique that I found deeply fascinating because it moves away from internal dialogue and actually engages with the external world.
Right, the observation technique.
Yes. They suggest making a habit of describing what you see, just looking around the room and making simple observations.
Just naming things.
Yeah, like there's a window, my desk is messy, my laptop is open.
This specific exercise is perhaps the most powerful tool in the guide, honestly.
Really? Why is that?
Because it directly addresses how the visual cortex interacts with language. We need to look at the mechanics of this.
Okay, break it down for us.
When you learn a word through translation, you are linking a linguistic concept to another linguistic concept.
Right, like the Spanish word ventana links to the English word window.
Exactly. It's a text-to-text translation in the brain.
Okay.
But when you look at a messy desk and you force yourself to think the phrase, "my desk is messy," you are doing something entirely different.
What are you doing?
You are forcing your brain to connect raw visual data, shapes, colors, spatial awareness directly to an English linguistic label.
Oh, wow.
You are bypassing the linguistic translation center of your brain entirely. You are anchoring the vocabulary to physical objects in your immediate physical reality.
So you see the object, the visual cortex processes it, and the English label attaches to it directly.
Yes, directly, no middleman.
Okay, this is a massive aha moment for me.
It is a game changer.
Because if you translate, the visual information goes into your brain, it hits your native language dictionary, you find the native word, then you take that native word to the English dictionary, and then you speak.
It is a long, slow journey.
But by describing what you see, you are drawing a straight line from the eyeball to the English vocabulary.
You are rewiring the circuitry to make the English language tangible. It is no longer an abstract subject you study in a book.
It becomes the actual lens through which you identify your surroundings.
Precisely.
That is incredibly practical. Let's do another real-time challenge for you, the listener.
I love these.
Wherever you are right now, as you are listening to this deep dive, maybe you are driving a car, maybe you are washing the dishes, maybe you are just sitting at your desk.
Or on a train.
Yeah, wherever. Look around you. Take a second. Describe 3 things you see or 3 things you are doing right now entirely in English.
Just do it in your head.
Notice how different that mental action feels compared to reading a grammar textbook.
It feels active. It feels immediate.
It does. I am honestly marveling at how empowering this is. You don't need a conversation partner. You don't need to pay an exorbitant fee for a private tutor just to begin this process.
Your messy desk is your classroom.
Your morning commute is your language lab.
It democratizes the process of fluency.
It really does. However, we must address a very serious roadblock here.
Ah, yes, the trap.
There is a common trap that highly motivated learners fall into almost immediately when they start trying these narration and observation exercises.
And Emma and Daniel are very careful to warn against it in the text.
Yes, the perfectionism roadblock.
It is a huge issue.
And I completely understand why this happens. When people first attempt to think in English, their ego gets involved.
Oh, definitely.
They want to sound intelligent. They don't want to walk around their house thinking, I see a window, my desk is messy.
It feels too basic to them.
Right. They want to construct these elaborate, grammatically flawless, multi-clause sentences in their head. They want to think the luminescent quality of the window pane contrasts sharply with the disorganized state of my workspace.
And what happens when they try to do that?
The buffering wheel comes right back. The system crashes again.
Exactly. And the text strongly urges learners to abandon this quest for perfect, long sentences.
Perfectionism in the context of language acquisition is not a virtue. It is a massive liability.
It slows down your thinking to an absolute crawl. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to view perfectionism as a literal drain on your brain's CPU.
A drain on the CPU. I like that.
If you are constantly policing your own internal grammar, checking if you use the right preposition, worrying if you should have used the past perfect continuous instead of the simple past.
Which is exhausting.
You are using up processing power. You are dedicating your cognitive bandwidth to formatting, rather than dedicating it to retrieving vocabulary and expressing the core idea.
You are interrupting the flow of automatic thought.
Formatting versus retrieving.
That is such a clear way to see it. If you spend all your energy making the sentence look pretty, you forget what you were trying to say in the first place.
Exactly.
This is why Emma and Daniel advise sticking to incredibly short, punchy sentences.
Start small.
Yeah, like, this is interesting, I like this, I don't understand. That makes sense.
It is about reducing the variables. Short sentences minimize the opportunity for grammatical errors, which minimizes the urge to self-correct, which keeps the thought process moving forward seamlessly.
But I can hear the objection from our listeners right now.
I know exactly what they're going to say.
They are thinking, but if I only practice short, simple sentences, won't I just sound like a caveman forever?
Right. Don't I need to practice perfect grammar if I ever want to be taken seriously?
Exactly.
That is the fear, but it is unfounded. Emma and Daniel make a crucial observation here that I think every learner desperately needs to internalize.
What is it?
Even native speakers make grammar mistakes. All the time.
Oh, absolutely.
If you actually transcribe a natural conversation between two native speakers, it is a must.
It's terrifying, actually.
It is full of sentence fragments. They stumble over words, they use improper syntax, they mix up verb tenses when they are speaking quickly.
They start a sentence one way, abandon it halfway through, and finish it another way entirely.
I do that in my native language constantly.
Same.
But the communication still works perfectly fine. The listener still understands the intent.
Because the fundamental goal of language is the transfer of ideas from one brain to another.
It is connection, not perfection.
Connection, not perfection. I love that.
When you demand perfection from yourself in a second language, a standard you don't even hold yourself to in your first language, you are setting an impossible and counterproductive hurdle.
That is such a relief to hear, honestly. You have explicit permission to be messy. The goal is the expression of the idea.
Yes.
And the text points out that using these short, simple, imperfect sentences is what actually builds confidence.
Because you are succeeding more often.
Right. When you successfully look at a book and think, this is interesting, without hesitating, without translating, you experience a tiny victory.
Your brain registers a success.
You think, hey, I did it. I generated a thought directly in English. And that confidence, that series of tiny dopamine hits, is the actual engine that drives you toward fluency.
It is the snowball effect. Emma and Daniel embed a great core mantra in their guide for this.
What is it?
Fluency grows from many small sentences, not perfect grammar.
Fluency grows from many small sentences, not perfect grammar. It is a compound interest effect.
It really is.
Those hundreds of small, simple, slightly imperfect sentences you think to yourself throughout the day add up to a massive foundational shift in how your brain processes the language.
They lay the groundwork.
Which leads us to the final and perhaps most demanding aspect of this entire methodology. If perfection isn't the goal, what is the underlying requirement to make this work?
Consistency.
Yeah.
The absolute necessity of daily practice.
Right. Because you can't just narrate your morning routine one time on a Tuesday and expect to wake up fluent on Wednesday.
I wish.
We're talking about physically rewiring the neural pathways of the brain here.
And the deep dive into Emma and Daniel's source material shows us that this final promise, the ability to think natively in English, is not some mystical state.
It is not a genetic gift.
No, it's just a habit.
It is a habit built on relentless, low-stakes repetition.
And the text is very honest, which I appreciate, about the initial friction you are going to face when you try to implement this.
Because it's not going to be easy on day one.
No, they normalize the fact that at first, your brain will violently resist this process.
It will desperately want to translate.
Because your brain is designed to conserve energy, and it wants to take the path of least resistance.
And right now, that path of least resistance is your native language.
Exactly.
It's like trying to walk through a dense jungle. Your native language is a nicely paved highway.
Smooth and easy.
Thinking in English is like trying to hack your way through the underbrush with a machete. It's going to feel clunky. It's going to feel unnatural and exhausting at first.
Yes, but every time you force a thought down that new English pathway, every time you look at your shoes and think, I am putting on my shoes, you are clearing a little bit more of that brush.
You are literally building the road.
You are physically forging new neural connections through neuroplasticity. The guide promises that if you practice this daily, even for just 5 minutes a day, your brain will adapt.
The brush gets cleared, the path gets wider.
Yes.
But 5 minutes a day seems almost too small to make a difference, doesn't it?
It isn't about the duration, it's about the frequency. 5 minutes every single day is vastly superior to a 3-hour cram section once a week.
Why is that?
Because frequent daily touch points signal to your brain that this new language is a vital, permanent part of your environment, not just a temporary subject to study and forget.
So it tells the brain, hey, this is important for survival now.
Exactly. And if you maintain that consistency, Emma and Daniel describe this wonderful, almost magical concept of the tipping point.
Yes. The tipping point, the moment when everything shifts.
Is the ultimate payoff.
Tell us about it.
The text asserts that if you maintain this daily practice of simple narration and observation, one day, something deeply surprising happens.
What happens?
The English thoughts simply appear, automatically, without translation, without conscious effort.
Oh, wow.
You will look at a window, and the word window will just exist in your mind simultaneously with the visual.
You will feel tired, and the thought, I am tired, will arise natively.
Exactly. Fluency, therefore, does not come from memorizing endless lists of vocabulary words from a textbook.
It comes from actively using the English you already have inside your own mind every single day.
That is the secret.
I want to point out something really interesting about the meta nature of the source material itself regarding this need for consistency.
Okay, what did you notice?
Well, at the end of their guide, Emma and Daniel literally asked their audience to subscribe to their channel.
Right, boost English.
Yes, boost English. They say, before we start, don't forget to subscribe because every episode helps you speak English more naturally and confidently.
Sure.
Now, on the surface, that just sounds like standard YouTube or podcast content creator behavior, right? Everyone asks you to subscribe.
It is standard marketing, yes.
But if you look deeper at the psychology of what they are teaching, it perfectly illustrates their core point about habit formation.
How so?
They know that learners need continuous immersion, they know that human motivation fades, and that you need daily touch points and external reminders to keep this internal habit alive.
Ah, I see what you mean.
By asking you to subscribe, by encouraging you to engage with English content regularly, they're essentially helping you design your digital environment.
They're creating the external architecture your brain needs to maintain the internal adaptation.
Exactly.
That is a very astute observation. It reinforces the idea that language learning is not a destination you arrive at where you suddenly declare, I am fluent, and then stop trying.
Right. It is a daily practice you maintain. It is a lifestyle integration.
A lifestyle integration, beautifully said.
And that concept of lifestyle integration brings us perfectly to the close of our journey today. We have covered a massive amount of cognitive ground.
We really have.
We have traced the path from the stressful, suffocating reality of the translation trap, where you are constantly buffering, acting as a frantic UN interpreter in your own head, and falling behind the conversation.
All the way to the liberating promise of automatic thought.
We've talked about balancing in the driveway with simple thoughts, acting as your own conversation partner, and bypassing the translation dictionary by linking words directly to your visual cortex.
The tools are all there.
They are. The ultimate takeaway from Emma and Daniel's guide is incredibly empowering. Do not wait until your English is perfect to start thinking in it.
That is the most vital piece of advice. Waiting for perfection is waiting forever.
The perfection will never arrive if you don't first build the messy, imperfect habit of direct thought.
Exactly.
Start right now, today. Use small thoughts. Use short, punchy sentences.
Embrace the daily practice, even if it is just for 5 minutes while you are making your morning coffee or walking to the bus stop.
Because the equation they present is beautifully, elegantly simple. The more you practice thinking in English, the easier speaking in English becomes.
The internal monologue is the rehearsal space for the external performance.
Oh, that is good. The internal monologue is the rehearsal base.
And this raises a deeply profound question, actually, a final thought to leave you with, one that builds on everything we've unpacked today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We know, from a sociolinguistic perspective, that language is not just a neutral tool for communication.
Right.
Language is the actual framework we use to understand reality. The words we have access to dictate the concepts we can grasp.
Our internal monologue literally shapes how we experience the world.
So, if you actively shift your simplest, most private daily thoughts into a second language, how does that fundamentally alter your relationship with the world around you?
Oh, wow.
When you look at your messy desk and you conceptualize it natively in English rather than your mother tongue, are you actually beginning to see that desk and perhaps your life through an entirely different cultural lens?
Does changing the language of your thoughts change the nature of the thoughts themselves?
Exactly.
Does the architecture of English make you perceive the world differently than the architecture of Spanish or Japanese or Arabic?
It is a profound question to chew on as you go about your day.
It really is. It means learning a language isn't just learning new words, it's learning a new way to exist.
I couldn't agree more.
And speaking of going about your day, we want to echo Emma and Daniel's final practical challenge to you right now. What is one simple sentence you can think in English at this very moment?
Look around. Name something. Feel something.
Hold that English thought in your mind. We want to warmly thank you for joining us on this massive deep dive. Keep practicing, keep questioning, and keep thinking.
And the next time you feel that agonizing buffering wheel spinning in your head, remember, you don't have to translate the whole video.
Just start by naming the screen.